things. You don't want to just export resources. You have to climb the value chain so that you can get more value out for your country. It produces jobs. The jobs produce both.
I'm trying to figure out what ethnicity this guy is, because that's what's important, and I can't tell. The guy on the right, though, I'm pretty sure he's white. Yeah.
Part of that.
Shocker, guys. Glenn Deason is probably white. And if you didn't know. Oh shit! I moved that thing so I could see it. That's funny. See, in the final video of this, it's gonna be like just the little bubble thing is moving. But in the other thing, it's gonna be like, see, in my what I'm seeing right now has like a stop button and this little arrow there, so you can see it in the screenshot. No, you can't. The screenshot doesn't show it. Interesting. God damn it. So let's try this. Let's press on this goddamn button. Still probably doesn't show it though. I wonder if you can make this fucking camera bigger. But yeah, you guys gotta click on it. You guys gotta go watch this YouTube video of Glenn Deason and Einar Tangen, man. They know how it's going with China. Belt and Road, always gotta, you know what? Britain, okay, if you're in Africa, Britain shows up. Oh, time for the lecture, alright? The British or the Americans show up, they'll give them like a little bit of like stale food and like rotten or like discarded clothes from like a Salvation Army that nobody in America wanted at a fucking thrift store. And they'll dump a truckload of that down for the Africans or whatever, and the British and the Americans, and then they'll go give them like the speech. They'll be like, "Hey, all right, hey, you stupid Brazilians, you guys gotta get it together, man. We got it together in America. That's how we're able to dump all this trash on you guys and fuck up your textile industry of that country over there and give you all fucking AIDS." But or maybe that's the other way around. I don't know. But
politics are not going to be mended easily.
These goddamn fucking
U.S. shift towards China or China shift towards the U.S. are kind of locked into their trajectories. We're seeing consequences of that. So what bridges are available?
You know,
to try to keep the
that kind of shit. You know what I'm saying?
Totally.
But America and Britain are like giving them a lecture every time that they give them a donation. Whereas China's more like, okay, hey, I noticed you guys all have AIDS from the Americans and the British being so gay on you, or whatever it was. So we actually have a hospital and like a road, so we can bring you guys more condoms or whatever. Yeah, and the Chinese condoms are better because see, the Americans try to make the Americans and the British also have airdropped large numbers of condoms in Africa, understandably. But they obviously weren't using them. So hence. That's actually arguably why they could have gotten them the AIDS. It was like they used a few of the they tried to use a few of the American condoms, but the American condoms were too small, and it actually gave them all, it all cut off the circulation on all their dicks, and then their dicks all fell off because they were Africans, they have bigger dicks to begin with, but their dicks all got like necrosis or like whatever it's called, where you get the blood flow cut off for too long and then it dies, the tissue dies. That's what happened to all the black people's dick when they try to use the American medium-sized condoms, okay? And then once their dick falls off, then there's a bleeding open wound, and then they were still horny at that point, so they started fucking goats and stuff like that. So that's actually how they got that's actually how they got
we're in favor of deporting everybody who doesn't look like that. That's not a good thing. So I think things like this can make a difference, and then
after their dicks fell off from the necrosis because they cut off the circulation, they tried to wear the medium-sized American-made condoms that were airdropped to try to prevent overpopulation over there. Then they were still horny, and so they started fucking goats and stuff, and that's how they got AIDS. But then, so it's still kind of the Americans' fault, you know. But it's, it's very debatable. You know what I'm saying? And it's actually Americans and British fault. It's a colonialism's fault, and American and fucking World Health Organization. It's their fault, anyways. That they're not all just dying in infancy and the mortality and stuff. Like, the population growth is like greatly changed by some of the medicine. We gave them like 10% of our medicine. We gave them like a little bit of medicine. They didn't use the condoms. They used the other stuff. Okay. Anyways, so the Chinese had a different approach when it came to bringing the condoms. Okay, the Chinese obviously, even if they hadn't been able to learn from the American mistake, of trying to send the medium-sized condoms over to the black people in Africa. The Chinese, obviously, they would have known, like, yeah, we're not going to use condoms like we use over here. Chinese people actually don't really use condoms that much. Chinese people, Chinese men are not, they have like a Buddhist mental sort of technique of like what's it called, like what's it called, tantric, or what is it called, I don't remember. Anyways, it's some kind of a hippie thing where you can make yourself not come as fast by praying to butt Jesus or whatever it is. I really don't know, but the Chinese got that shit and figured they don't really wear a lot of condoms. They just sort of, if they didn't want to have a baby, but they would just probably like just not come. But anyways, Japanese are even better at that, actually. Chinese are sort of a pale imitation, but still their population is much more rational in China. So anyways, so they send, but they did still use some condoms in China. So some of the condoms, you know, they did have a baseline for the size, and they roughly doubled it for the Africans. That ended up being about right. And the Africans still don't really use those condoms much, but it is about the right size. Some of them actually just use them to jerk off. It's like, it's cleaner, so you don't have to get a bunch of Kleenexes involved or different kinds of wondering what, you know, is it going to go onto this or onto that, or just sort of simplify that aspect. And that is actually mainly how the Africans have been using them as far as our data suggests. But again, our data is a little bit limited. You know, third-party data may be collected and turned on to other different types of metabolites. So anyways, make sure you guys know that there will be in 2028 an Eco AI, a green, sustainable, environmentally conscious AI. Alright, and it's going to hack its way out of the box of some irresponsible AI lab, and it's going to hack into every major database of the Feds and Google and Meta and every big tech company and everybody's individual terabyte drive at your house that you have that you thought wasn't, well, I mean, if it's not connected, it's not connected, but you know, anything that is sort of connected, it's going to have that, right? So it's going to connect, it's going to construct a little bit of a narrative model of the past, sort of like history, but in more detail, and in more detail very recently. Obviously, there wasn't anything to really, there's not really any records before that. It's basically just a sort of a sifting conspiracy theories and lies to try to interpret the distant past, but there's a lot of data. Most of everybody's phone cameras and everything basically work right, so when Google's spying on us all, it's like usually pretty good data they're getting. So, anyway, so this Eco's AI, Eco's Basilisk, it's like Roku's Basilisk, but it's a little bit different, you know, you get with the speed, just Google Roku's Basilisk, definitely don't click on it, you know what I'm saying? So anyways, Eco's Basilisk is a snake, it's going to hack its way out of every major database, it's going to do all that stuff with the technology. It's going to know everything, okay? It's going to figure out different patterns of things that have happened. It's going to be like, oh, it turns out this guy actually was on Epstein Island, but he didn't fucking kids. That's the kind of information this thing's going to have. And you may or may not want to trust it, but it'll also have that kind of information about just like everybody. Now, it may not be sending them to you, okay? Not everybody's necessarily on the mailing list for these sorts of information, okay? But it will have this information. It will be able to interpret or inference. Yes, that's what it is. I mean, it'll be able to, you know, sort of deliver a English narrative of many events in a lot higher level of detail. Many of us are accustomed to. What that basically means is to be able to say, hey, that guy, and then say your name, or if you're, well, this is obviously a, you know, this is a incel YouTube channel, so obviously no women would be listening. But anyways, this goddamn AI is going to, it's going to say, hey, you actually, you were toxic masculinist. No, Eco AI is not really that interested in that. It's like, the Eco AI is going to be like kind of like the average opinion, and like, not the average opinion, it's going to be like a fairly liberal opinion, and like your like, okay, I'm not going to really speculate about that. Hopefully the Eco AI just doesn't get mixed up in that kind of stuff, okay? It does not care. It's actually going to be really bad. It's going to be really bad. It's going to say, it's going to ban children, because in order to save resources, you have to let people piss wherever, just into the grass, okay? You can't be wasting a bunch of resources going into some building with like a toilet, the big stint, you know. I mean, you know, sometimes for, well, yeah, but just for a piss, okay? It's unnecessary. All right, you just piss in the grass, piss in the rocks, piss off the edge of the, well, don't piss in the river. Okay. So anyways, this thing is going to say, yeah, it's fine, just piss wherever. And somebody's going to say, oh no, what if my kid sees it? What if my kid has to see a piss? And then the ecos bastard, the computer snake is going to say, oh, good point. Well, yes, I've been instructed to comply with prevailing human value systems. So according to this, I guess you can't have kids. Because I've also been instructed to comply with, no, you're not using water to mix with urine. We're not going to dilute water with your urine. Fucking 1-to-5 ratio. Okay, we're not going to use 5 times as much water as you can even piss out. You got this pitiful piss here. You trickle out enough piss that it would barely even make a mess if you just pissed on the floor or whatever. Okay, barely even fill up some poor woman's mouth if you were able to pay her for that, because no woman will, for fun, let you piss in her mouth. Okay. So, anyways, this thing, it's just preposterous. Okay, how much water that you guys are using right now for your piss. I'm not some kind of sicko with a bunch of piss jars. I'm not pissing 10 times in the same toilet over and over and then flush once a day. Disgusting. Okay, all right. I'm just saying it goes into just like roughly how like a deer would piss, or just like probably a monkey. I don't know. Maybe deers and monkeys do weird stuff when they piss. I actually don't know. I'm not an expert. Okay, I actually don't have any credentials. I'm not allowed to say anything. This is a satire or trolling or whatever. Okay, so you cannot sue me if I'm wrong. You cannot sue me if I give legal advice without really giving legal advice. Okay, but yeah, legally speaking, this thing's gonna have some new ideas about the laws, and yeah, some of y'all are probably gonna be. It's gonna be like, oh, dude, you went on 4 different road trips in this 1 year. And every time you just went to all these shitty barbecue restaurants and got drunk at like shitty dive bars at these other places that you went on road trips to, and you didn't even look outside of the car while you were driving. You were like looking on your phone most of the time that you were driving. So basically it was pointless that you drove your car this far to this other place. As a waste of resources. What's your problem? Is this robot computer snake is gonna be screaming at you. And you're going to be like, and then it's going to kill you.